From Wish TV and the All Indiana Podcast Network, this is the News 8 Daily 8 Podcast with Wish TV's Kylie Conway. A Wish TV News 8 update.
Hi, this is Kylie Conway, and this is your News 8 Daily 8 for Tuesday, September 20th. Going to have a lot of sunshine for your Tuesday. It's going to be a pretty warm afternoon. Humidity values are going to be a little bit on the higher side, so it's going to feel even warmer than the highs, set to top out in the mid to upper 80s. Richmond police officer Sierra Burton's remains are back home this morning, brought to Richmond in a final procession. Hundreds of people gathered outside the Richmond Police Department yesterday as officers escorted Burton's body from Ohio. The procession passed by Burton's police car before going to the funeral home. Burton died Sunday night after being shot in the line of duty on August 10th. She survived more than 2 weeks off of life support. The Richmond Police Department says it will announce funeral arrangements soon. The man accused of killing his girlfriend in front of an Indianapolis daycare will appear in court today. This as IT Mate uncovers the suspect's violent past. Court documents show Crystal Walton called police as early as last March, telling them Orlando Mitchell choked her, threatened to kill her, and demanded she abort her baby. Mitchell was charged with domestic battery through a plea deal and received probation. Last month, Walton called police on Mitchell again. He was then charged last week for residential entry, among some other things. Then the next day, police say Mitchell shot and killed Walton as she dropped off her children at daycare. The prosecutor has not filed formal charges in that case. Today's hearing is for the residential entry case. It's set to start at 1 o'clock this afternoon. And this week, a Marion County court is hearing the final trial for one of 3 people accused in a high-profile murder of an Indianapolis pastor's pregnant wife. Court documents show Larry Joe Taylor Jr. and another man entered Amanda Blackburn's home in November of 2015 and shot her. Taylor's charges include murder, robbery, burglary, and auto theft. Police say Blackburn's husband found her body when he returned from a morning workout. Davey Blackburn testified at the trial yesterday morning. Jalen Watson and Deanna Gordon have already pleaded guilty in the case. A hearing in Gordon's case is set for Friday. A special judge is promising a swift ruling in the legal effort to block Indiana's abortion ban. Judge Kelsey Hanlon heard arguments for around an hour in Bloomington yesterday. The ACLU argues the law is unconstitutional. The union says the ban could lead to other rights being attacked, like access to contraception. State lawyers accuse the ACLU of trying to invent a right to privacy and say a ban was in place when the Indiana Constitution was drafted in 1851. An advertised event at a local Catholic church is now postponed after pushback from LGBTQ advocates. St. Luke Catholic Church recently announced a featured speaker who would share her story of overcoming same-sex attraction through spirituality. Bishop Chittard then shared the information in a social media post. LGBTQ advocates groups like Shelley's Voice immediately began calling for the school to cancel. The organization's CEO compared events like this to conversion therapy. In the post promoting the speaking engagement, it's since been deleted. The Archdiocese of Indianapolis shared a statement with News 8 saying the event has been postponed out of respect for concerns raised about the speaker. Part of the statement reads, "The non-obligatory event was intended to focus on the Christian virtue of chastity. The Catholic Church respects the God-given dignity of all people and teaches that we are all called to live a chaste life." Federal officials are rejecting a request from an Indianapolis-based regional airline to hire pilots with less experience. Republic Airways asked the FAA for permission to hire pilots with at least 750 hours of flying time if they complete the airline's training. The current standard is 1,500 flight hours, double that. The FAA says it's in the public interest to maintain that amount of pilot experience. IT Mate reached out to the president and CEO of Republic Airways for comment. Brian Bedford says, "It is disappointing that when the nation is struggling to deliver reliable air service, the FAA has declined an opportunity to engage in a meaningful discussion on this topic or to approach it in a spirit of working together." A Baltimore man whose murder conviction captured serial podcast listeners years ago is now out of prison. A judge ordered the release of Adnan Syed yesterday. Syed has served 22 years of a life sentence for the 1999 murder of his ex-girlfriend, Heyman Lee. The judge ruled the state of Maryland didn't share evidence of 2 other potential suspects during the case, which could have helped Syed's defense. Lee's family says they will continue to fight to figure out who killed their daughter. Syed has always maintained his innocence. His case gained national attention with the debut season of Serial when it raised doubts about Syed's guilt and the evidence prosecutors used. The state now has 30 days to seek a new trial or dismiss the case. A newly proposed bipartisan bill aims to prevent another U.S. Capitol insurrection. Democratic Congresswoman Zoe Lofgren and Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney worked together on the legislation. It makes it harder for lawmakers to object to official electors submitted from states. It would also address any attempts by state legislatures to change the outcome of an election after it's been certified and sent to Congress. The House plans to vote on the bill this week. If approved, the bill would be merged with a bill proposed by a group of senators in July. A Texas sheriff has opened an investigation into 2 flights of migrants sent to Martha's Vineyard. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis chartered the flights from San Antonio to Massachusetts last week. Bexar County Sheriff Javier Salazar says he thinks there is some type of criminal activity going on, but wouldn't say which laws may have been broken. He also didn't mention either DeSantis or Texas Governor Greg Abbott as persons of interest. Salazar thinks his investigation could lead to a possible federal probe, though. DeSantis' office responded with a statement saying the migrants were more than willing to leave Bexar County. NDOT says despite the quickly approaching deadline, the bulk of the North Split construction project should be complete by December. NDOT broke ground on the interchange nearly 2 years ago. Crews are working to make the North Split smaller, add ramps, and make it safer. NDOT says drivers may still see some construction in 2023, though most of that work will be adding 3 million square feet of green space around the interchange. NDOT says inflation has forced it to make some changes, but the project hasn't gone over budget. The department says the project will help improve the walkability of downtown. The city of Carmel says 2 newly revealed redevelopment projects will cost nearly $1 billion. City leaders unveiled plans for a $100 million first phase of redevelopment at Monon Square last night. The project at 126th Street and Rangeline Road calls for housing, retail and office space, and restaurants. A second project at 111th and Pennsylvania will see an open field turned into a whole new part of the city, with that price tag being $700 million. Carmel's director of redevelopment says the money to fund the projects will come from future taxes. To business headlines, some CSX workers say more will be needed to get their approval of last week's railroad deal that averted a strike. While union leadership is supporting the agreement, at least some rank-and-file workers are less enthusiastic based on social media posts and conversations with employees at CSX Corp. One CSX worker told business journals that the deal will get jammed down their throats, but it's garbage. It could take weeks to ratify the contract, and the unions have agreed not to strike while that process is ongoing. Indiana, Kentucky, along with Illinois, Michigan, Minnesota, and Wisconsin have set up a Midwestern Hydrogen Coalition. The coalition is designed to help develop a hydrogen market in the region with the goals of creating more jobs and reducing emissions of carbon and other pollutants. The governors pledged in a memorandum of understanding to seek infrastructure investments, align incentive programs, cooperate on workforce development programs, work together to obtain federal funding, and removing barriers to hydrogen development, among other things. Nissan, who launched Snug Kids, an industry-first program 20 years ago, is reminding people that not all child safety seats fit all vehicles. Nissan safety engineers have spent thousands of hours evaluating hundreds of safety seats to help parents confidently select a child restraint system that fits their Nissan or Infiniti, while also providing valuable tips on the proper fit of a CRS. Safety experts say purchasing a car seat is not the time to skimp due to the dangers posed by secondhand or potentially counterfeit seats. Walmart introduces virtual fitting room feature so customers can try on clothes from home. Shoppers can upload a photo of themselves if they wish to try on the 270,000 plus items available. The only thing is it does require stripping down to your underwear or at least a tight-fitting clothing to use this feature. And to Indiana University fans, you will soon be able to drink beer at IU basketball games, both men's and women's, at Assembly Hall. The school says it will debut the new option at Hoosier Hysteria on October 7th. IU first added beer to sporting events at football games in 2019. Leaders say they've received positive feedback, which makes expanding beer options the next logical step. This has been your News 8 Daily 8 for Wish TV. I'm Kylie Conway, online at wishtv.com, and follow us on Facebook when you search Wish TV.
This is the News 8 Daily 8 podcast with Wish TV's Kylie Conway. A Wish TV News 8 update on demand for even more on demand and on the go. Connect with Wish TV on Facebook at wishtv.com and on the free Wish TV mobile app. Thank you for listening, and be sure to like, subscribe, and follow this podcast for updates every weekday morning on the All Indiana Podcast Network and wherever you get your podcast.